Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May our homage to our teacher Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, very good evening, my dear friends. I hope everybody doing good. Let's begin our Dhamma discussion. Now, my friends, before this starting our discussion, let's remember about some of the teachings that we already discussed during our previous sessions. There were some special topics that we studied. Can somebody name few of the teachings that we studied during this discussion? Just for open our discussion, can somebody give me something that, yeah?
Well, we talked about Buddha's life, that it was completely based on virtue.
Yes, about the
Last one, and that he abandoned all unskillful things completely.
Yes. And that is one theme that we studied about the virtue. Can somebody else name another topic that we studied? Did we only talk virtue? No.
Also, Bhante, I think we talk about how there are things that can be given up by the body. It has to be given up by the body. And then if it is...
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Kaya Sutta.
That was about the wisdom. The topic was about the wisdom. So we
Seeing
talked
wisdom.
about the wisdom.
Yes.
Okay. Virtue, wisdom. What else?
Full awareness.
Yes, we also talked about full awareness as a meditation. We learned that it is for developing our wisdom. We meditate on full awareness. Are there something else?
Impermanence. Impermanence.
Yeah, we talked about impermanence. And that is also among the wisdom. It's a practice in the wisdom, virtue, wisdom. And we also started with discussing about the mindfulness. That is this talk all about developing mindfulness. Okay. Now, what else we talked?
We have to, Bhante, there's one topic that we have to see the unwholesome again and again with wisdom. Does it also fall within the wisdom?
Yes, wisdom. Yeah. Virtue means the restraint. So we try to restrain our actions. Wisdom, actually the knowledge that we develop. But something else is missing here.
Hindrances.
Yeah, we talked about the hindrances also. We talked about the faith. Do you remember? We have some discussions based on the faith. Yeah. But how about the concentration? We didn't talk about the concentration, and we couldn't talk about the jhanas and the concentration and what is peace of mind. Actually, that is very important because that is the aim of our training, our meditations. The goal is to make the mind peaceful. When people say that I need to live in the present moment, I need to have a peaceful mind, I need to concentrate my mind, that they all talk about this specific concept of concentration. Are there somebody who know the Pali word for concentration?
Samadhi.
Yeah, samadhi. Samadhi means Pali term for the concentration. Okay, concentration is stillness. Mostly, I have used the word stillness for the concentration. Okay. Now, friends, how can we distinguish these concepts? Because now mindfulness and wisdom looks very identical. Did you have any confusion? What is mindfulness and what is wisdom? And sometimes there is this mixing of the concentration with mindfulness. Are there any differences, or are they all in the same group? What do you think?
Bante, mindfulness leads to concentration.
Yeah, that's a very good answer. Mindfulness develops concentration. That's very good. And how about wisdom? What is wisdom? Hmm.
To see things as they really are. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's a very good and correct answer. To see the things as they really are. And where is the virtue here? Why do we need virtue?
To develop wisdom.
Because the
think
noble
Correct.
eightfold
But
paths.
what?
the
Sarah?
virtue is the foundation of mindfulness, Bante.
Yes. For all the practices, there should be the virtue. In a simile, it is said that the virtue is like the earth. The earth is where that we create and we build all the buildings. We create buildings and we do all our works. We live on the earth. We build the banks, schools, hospitals, universities, shops, shopping malls. We all build those buildings on the ground. Okay. And we also walk and we make the, we garden, like we make the flower beds, and we go to work and we create the roads. Everything we do based on the ground, on the earth. What if there is no earth? Where do we build all these stuffs? We will have to build everything on the space. And what happens if we create things on the space? They floats. They go here and there. Even the water in the space, it floats. You see, now there should be the virtue, the ethical conduct in order to do any mental practice, any mental training. If you need to develop mindfulness, or if you need to make your mind peaceful, if you need to have a higher knowledge about the life, you need virtue for that. It is the ground. Okay. Now there is the ground of virtue, and after that we practice meditations to develop mindfulness, and through the mindfulness we bring the peace of mind, and with the peace of mind we awaken ourselves to the true nature of the life. We awaken to the impermanence. Okay. Now, these are how the Buddha. This is how the Buddha defined all those topics, all those concepts in the Buddhism. Okay. So you should not be confused with all of these topics altogether. Try to learn one by one and try to distinguish these things in your life. Probably after listening to the Dhamma talk, you can take some time and you can close your eyes and as a meditation, try to understand these things. Try to ask yourself, what exactly, according to the teachings, that virtue means. Then when you think on that, when you reflect on that, it will bring you some level of understanding in your life. Oh, this is the virtue. Now I'm protecting living beings and I'm helping, supporting others. I have gentle words. I don't have harsh words. Now you are trying to get those qualities within yourself. We gotta clear out these things inside of us. We don't keep those things on the books or on the videotapes, audio tapes, or there are all this information, those are not connected to my life. But we gotta crystallize, we gotta understand one by one in our life. Why? Why should we understand this within ourselves?
Well, we already said it as the foundation.
Yeah, the
next
virtue
step.
is the virtue is the foundation, and we get to understand it from our life that I have this kind of restraint over my actions, and after that we try to understand mindfulness. Right after doing the meditation, you can understand, oh, this time I did the mindfulness practice. And also you can study about the knowledge, the wisdom. You can learn that the teaching says that everything is impermanence. Now you try to see those things within you. For what purpose? To develop them. That is what we should do when we study those things. It is not just for the debates or to the like the arguments, but these are to practice in within. Without recognizing this inside of our life, can we develop them? No. If we, after listening, if we drop everything in the discussion and after we go to our work, if we forget all those things, we won't be able to develop it in the later. Because it will only be an intellectual knowledge. Oh, I know, like, I know this is how you meditate. No, but it should be seen in within so that we can develop these qualities later. Whenever there is an opportunity, we try our best to develop the virtue, develop the concentration, develop the mindfulness, and to develop the wisdom. Okay? All right, friends. Now, today, we will study about the concentration, but before that, I would like to share with you a teaching on the mindfulness. If I ask you this question, what is mindfulness? How do you define mindfulness? I think I have asked this question many times. Do you have a specific, like exact definition for the mindfulness?
Staying in the present moment.
Okay, that's the most common.
That's a common one.
Common definition. Living in
Undivided attention.
undivided attention. Don't be afraid. You can just say, we are studying, we are learning.
Bante,
Yeah.
one of them would it be like to the ability to like recollect something that is said and done from long time ago. That's
Yeah,
Sati.
that's very good definition that we can find among the suttas. Yes,
Be aware of our actions.
be aware about our actions. Okay. Shall we see how the Buddhist teachings show about the mindfulness according to the teachings? Because it will be good to have this topic before we go to study about the concentration, because we can interpret these topics, these concepts in our own way, or after hearing it from in the mainstream, like from the other teachers. But the Buddha's teachings tells something different from the common definitions. Let's try to understand that. And again, we are trying to see these qualities in ourselves. Okay. Now, there is a distinguishing characteristic of mindfulness. Okay, distinguishing characteristic means that when we study according to this, we can single out, we can let all the other things away, and we can clearly recognize, oh, this is exactly mindfulness. That is why those are taught as distinguishing characteristics. What we need to distinguish is from the other topics, like there were like something called mindfulness, and there were wisdom, there were virtue. So we try to distinguish every other things from this mindfulness. For that, we need to know its features, its special qualities and characteristics. Now, one day, a certain king asked from the Venerable Nagasena, which means an enlightened Bhante. So the king asked the Bhante, what is the distinguishing characteristic of mindfulness? Now, the Bhante replied, mindfulness, your majesty, has not wavering as a distinguishing characteristic. And also, another one, also taking up. There are two characteristics of the mindfulness. One is not wavering as a distinguishing characteristic. Not wavering, which means mindfulness does not put your mind to go aimlessly. It does not put your mind to a pointless nature. It does not go with many thoughts. It has a very clear and focused nature. When the mindfulness is there, the mind has so much clarity and precision, and we can focus that mind without wavering when there is mindfulness. Okay. And he say there is one more, that is also taking up, taking things. That is the quality, that is the nature of the mindfulness. Now we already have this. Somebody might think because we couldn't meditate that we don't carry mindfulness. No, we have mindfulness for a certain level. Otherwise, we cannot talk, we cannot walk, we cannot do any action if we don't have mindfulness. There is mindfulness, but it is not enough to the higher knowledge, and also to protect us sometimes. But it has this quality, it has this characteristic of not wavering, and also taking up, which means it can recollect, it can take up. Now the king asked, how, venerable sir, does mindfulness have not wavering as a distinguishing characteristic? How is it? Then the Bhante said, mindfulness arising, your majesty, does not waver concerning things that are wholesome and unwholesome. If it is wavering means like having two things, not having exact thing, like not having exact focus, but going with two things. Now this Bhante say, when you establish your mindfulness, when you gained enough mindfulness, it does not waver concerning things that are wholesome and unwholesome, which means there will not be a confusion to know what is good, what is bad, what is skillful, what is unskillful. Now here you see wholesome and unwholesome. These are also a identical definition, identical translation for the skillful and unskillful. And Bhante does not waver concerning things that are blameworthy and blameless, inferior and superior, dark and light, or evenly mixed, thinking these are the four establishments of mindfulness. These, you see, friends, even when there are teachings that we won't mix all these teachings with the negative things when we have mindfulness. Even to start establishing mindfulness, we need mindfulness. So here there are some other like concepts in the Dhamma, in the teachings, that such as the special like qualities that we need to develop when we reach to the enlightenment. So that's because of that, this Bhante say that when a person is having mindfulness, they know these are the four establishments of mindfulness. The four right strivings, the four bases of psychic power, the five faculties, five powers, seven factors of enlightenment. This is the Noble Eightfold Path. This is serenity. This is insight. This is knowledge. This is liberation. Now, one get to know about these qualities when they have mindfulness. And also, when it is starting, one start to know this is skillful, this is unskillful, this is wholesome, this is unwholesome. Now, this clarity comes with the mindfulness. When we develop mindfulness, we don't waver about these things. Now, when we go to meditate, we see that our mind wandering, it's going off the topic, it go everywhere, because that we don't have enough mindfulness. That is why it wavers. But soon as you develop mindfulness, you establish mindfulness, you start to see the focus, you start to see the clarity, you start to experience the precision. You will very precise with what you are doing. There will not be any confusion. That is the special quality that there is in the mindfulness. Now the Bhante say, then the spiritual aspirant engages in the things that should be engaged in and does not engage in the things that should not be engaged in. Which means when they establish mindfulness, they know what they should think, what they should abandon. You know, normally when we develop mindfulness, that we can even control our senses. Now it is said that in some of the similes that the mindfulness is like a driver who is holding 6 strings that is tied to the 6 horses, and using the one hand, this driver is catching all these horses and controls wherever the horses want to go. That is done by the driver. So it like that, the mindfulness has such a power to lead our senses, lead our actions, and to stop engaging in the bad actions, but to engage in the good actions. As soon as we establish mindfulness, that we get this clarity. Now, all we don't have when we don't have mindfulness is that we are confused, we are mixed, we don't know what to do. That is why when after doing a meditation, we feel little bit control of ourselves, that we don't get easily into anger, that we don't get easily into like to jealousiness, like there are many anger, hatred, delusion, that we don't like fall into that as soon as we establish mindfulness. And we learned that there are many meditations to do that. When we observe our postures, we can increase our mindfulness. When we develop breathing meditation, we can increase our mindfulness. And when we practice full awareness, we can increase our mindfulness. Actually, what we gain is our clarity. We gain our spaciousness. We gain more space in our mind to make the decisions before we do actions, to think of before we talk. There is this the clear vision about our life when we develop mindfulness. And the Bhante say, associate with things that should be associated with, and does not associate with things that should not be associated with. Thus, Your Majesty, does mindfulness have not wavering as a distinguishing characteristic? Now, friends, after you learn this, try to see it through your life. This Dhamma is not to look at the others' lives, how the others talk, how the others walks, how they do things, others' commissions and omissions. That is not for the Dhamma practitioner. The Dhamma practitioner should first, before developing, see the mindfulness in within, and then they can increase that, they can grow that, they can cultivate that. When they know, oh, I already have mindfulness, now I should start protecting this mindfulness and developing mindfulness. We can easily develop mindfulness if we have an object for that, such as developing breathing meditation, developing posture meditation, that we gain that mindfulness. And now the king asks, please give me an analogy. Then the Bhante says, just as Your Majesty, a wheel-turning king's storekeeper. Wheel-turning king means there was a very powerful king in the past. Now this king has a storekeeper. Reminds that king by night and day of his fame. This storekeeper go to the king and tells the king that, king, you have such a fame, you have such a sovereignty, you have such a power. You king, the storekeeper tells, you have so many elephants that are yours. Sire, so many horses, so many chariots, so many foot soldiers, so many gold, and so many gold objects, and so much wealth. Let His Majesty remember it. So the storekeeper explained about the already collected the goods that the king belong. The storekeeper knows everything that is already collected and kept in the store, and tell the king, king, you have 1,000 elephants, 1,000 horses, you have 1,000 soldiers, you have this much gold. And then when the storekeeper tells that, the king start to realize, oh, I have this much power in me, I have this much wealth in me. So now the king remembers about those things, and he does not waver concerning the king's wealth. The storekeeper doesn't have any confusion how much wealth this king has, how much gold this king has, how much elephants, horses this king has. He doesn't have any confusion like that. He always remembers. So the mindfulness has the power to recollect from the past. Actually, there is a special quality that you can know if your meditation getting success or not, if you are developing your mindfulness correctly or not. there is a special quality that you can know for yourself, that whether you are increasing your mindfulness or reducing your mindfulness. That is by knowing about your actions you did in the past. If you have very powerful remembrance of things happened yesterday or day before that, you can know that because of my mindfulness, that I increase this recollection, remembrance about the past activities that I did. We can easily retain the information from the memory as soon as we establish our mindfulness. Let's suppose that we left the keys without thinking that where that I'm leaving the keys. Without mindfulness, let's say we put it, then the next day we find very difficult to to remember where exactly I put my keys. But if we do the same activity with mindfulness, that knowing, oh, I keep this over here, then the next day we can easily remember, oh, I put my keys over there, because that we did that with the mindfulness. This mindfulness persists into the future with with letting you know what is going on here, what is going on in your life, how much things that you are taught you did. There is no unwavering. Even we are going to write on an exam, we are going to face into the test, that we are going to remember things that we already learned in our school, and we try to provide the answers, but we can't. Why? Because we were not mindfulness while we studying. That's why we cannot recollect. And that is also said that the highest level of mindfulness is the fourth jhana. In the fourth jhana, the practitioner can turn their consciousness into recollect the past lives, which means there is the information about the past lives in our consciousness as imprints that we can access after developing mindfulness. For that, there should be a very precise clarity and focus. And now this Bhante say that is the quality of mindfulness. In the same way, Your Majesty, mindfulness arising does not waver concerning things that are wholesome and unwholesome, blameworthy and blameless, so on. Now, Bhante said that is a one quality, unwaveringness, and the focus, the clarity is the mindfulness. And again, the Bhante said there is a one more definition for the mindfulness. And then the king asks, how, Venerable Sir, does mindfulness have taken up as distinguishing characteristic? Mindfulness arising, Your Majesty, examines the causes of mental states that are beneficial or non-beneficial. Now, in the wisdom that we carry in us, there are the information stored. Now, the mindfulness pulls all the knowledge from the wisdom to protect us, not to fall us into suffering, and to cultivate the important things, skillful things. Mindfulness arising, Your Majesty, examining the causes of mental states that are beneficial or non-beneficial. As soon as we get the anger, through the wisdom we already understood that anger is bad. Now the mindfulness will stop you from falling into the anger. It will protect you. It will guard you. Sometimes the mindfulness are taught as the guardian of the life. There is a guard in front of the bank, looking at who is entering and who is leaving. And that guard, the security personnel, know that who is entering and who is leaving the bank. That way, when there is a mindfulness in us, it knows which thought enters and which thought leaves, which thought should leave, and which thought should enter. That is done by the mindfulness, but there should be necessary wisdom to know that this is anger, this is loving kindness, this is greed, this is contentment. These are good, these are bad. And now the Bhante said, thinking these mental states are beneficial, these are non-beneficial, these mental states are supportive and these are not supportive, then the spiritual aspirant dispels non-beneficial mental states and takes up beneficial mental states. Thus, Your Majesty, does mindfulness have taking up as the distinguishing characteristic? Now, that is what support us to take up good things. Let's say you are in a situation that there is so many things that bringing you so much bad things into your heart. Let's say in that situation there might be a conflict or argument, that there are the jealousy thoughts, hatred thoughts, anger thoughts are popping up in the mind. Now, to protect you, you need mindfulness. Mindfulness will take up all the good qualities from the store and support you to develop that. This is why Buddha say, I don't say that you should abandon mindfulness at any point in your life. You should have mindfulness always in your life. That is why it is directed to the body, to establish it in the body so that wherever we go, we can carry mindfulness through our bodily postures. Again, the king asked for an example. Please give me an analogy. Just as Your Majesty, a wheel-turning king's treasured advisor. Now here the mindfulness works as a treasured advisor, knows what is beneficial and non-beneficial for the king. King, you should do this, you should do that. The advisor gives the advices. Thinking these are beneficial for the king, these are non-beneficial, these are supportive, these are not supportive. Then he dispels the non-beneficial and take up the beneficial. Dispels the non-supportive, take up the supportive. In the same way, Your Majesty, mindfulness arising examines mental states that are beneficial or non-beneficial. So that just by the mindfulness. Then spiritual aspirant dispels non-beneficial mental states and take up beneficial mental states. Thus, Your Majesty, does mindfulness have taking up as a distinguishing characteristic? And this too was said, Your Majesty, by the Blessed One. I say because that mindfulness is always useful. Now this Bhante take a certain passage from a teaching that delivered by the Buddha and say, you know, King, the Buddha once say, monks, that mindfulness is always useful, which means you should always develop mindfulness. Now that is the characteristic of the mindfulness. That is how we can know about the mindfulness in our life. And now, my friends, I'm going to go to the other section. Now the same king asks about the wisdom. Now let's see what is wisdom. Then the king asked, Venerable Nagasena, what is the distinguishing characteristic of wisdom? How can we know the wisdom? Now the Bhante say, previously, Your Majesty, I said that the severing is a distinguishing characteristic of wisdom. Severing means, friends, cutting off, destroying. Wisdom has the power of destroying, cutting off, eliminating, dispelling, and also illuminating. This is a distinguishing characteristic of wisdom. Okay, now the mindfulness is what shows you what you should do, but the wisdom has a different aspect. Wisdom has the power to cut off. Wisdom has the power of light. It shows you everything. It illuminates everything. How, Venerable Sir, is illuminating a distinguishing characteristic of wisdom? Now the Bhante say, Wisdom arising, your majesty, dispels the darkness of ignorance, generates the radiance of true knowledge, displays the light of understanding, and makes evident the noble truths. Then a spiritual practitioner sees with right wisdom what is impermanent, what is suffering, and what is not self. Okay, that is the power of wisdom. Now, in order to awaken the wisdom, we need to develop mindfulness. Now, the wisdom taught by this Bhante in many examples, many instructions that he say it can remove ignorance, it can bring you light, it can give you knowledge, it can give you understanding, and what is being understood and what is being illuminated and what is being um, seen through the wisdom is the impermanence, suffering, and not self. Now, when you develop mindfulness, it is a sure thing, it is a natural thing that the wisdom arises immediately, that you don't attach to anything. Why? Because you start to see the impermanence of the things, and you see those are impermanent, those are subjected to suffering, those are not self, that I don't want to attach. So that the mindfulness itself can unravel the things in our life. But it is being supported by the wisdom. Then the king say, please give me an analogy. Just as your majesty, a person might bring a lamp into a dark house, and this lamp brought in dispels the darkness, generates radiance, displays light, and makes evident forms. In the same way, your majesty, wisdom arising dispels the darkness of ignorance, generate radiance of true knowledge, displays the light of understanding, and makes evident the noble truths. Then a spiritual practitioner sees with right wisdom what is impermanent, suffering, or not self. Thus, your majesty, illuminating a distinguishing characteristic of wisdom. It has that characteristic. Now, you can see that wisdom in your life. If you have any understanding about things are changing, things are rising and falling, that is your wisdom. And you too have mindfulness. When you try to develop mindfulness itself, you have mindfulness. And you gotta develop these things up until that it protects you in any moment in your life, any situation in your life. Now we studied mindfulness and we studied about the wisdom. Concentration question. The king asked, Venerable Nagasena, what is the distinguishing characteristic of concentration? Now the Bhante says, concentration, your majesty, has being the foremost as a distinguishing characteristic. Concentration itself, stillness itself, has the foremost, most powerful, coming to the upfront, is very authoritative, like it has very much a power when there is concentration. It has to being the foremost for everything. Whatever wholesome mental states there are, all these have concentration as the foremost. Whatever only the wholesome, not unwholesome, but only the wholesome, skillful mental states there are, all these have concentration as the foremost. Now, which means whenever you bring up a good thought, whenever you bring up a skillful thought into your mind, it has the power to concentrate you. It is itself the power of concentration when there is a skillful thought. Centering of the mind into a skillful thought is called the samadhi. Kusala chittassa ekaggata is samadhi. Kusala chitta means a wholesome mental state, such as loving kindness thought. Ekaggata, which means your mind is pointed to that one thought, single thought. That is concentration. And it is the foremost for the skillful thought to the wholesome mental state. They lean towards concentration, slope towards concentration, and incline towards concentration. What leans to the concentration? The good mental states, wholesome mental state, skillful thoughts. That leans towards the concentration, which means if you ever wanted to make your mind peaceful, you cannot do that by anger. You cannot do that by hatred. You cannot do that by jealousiness or any other like delusion, fear, conceit, pride. You cannot do that by unskillful things. But you gotta bring up the skillful things. That is our struggle. That is what is called the meditation. We sit down and we try to generate through the mindfulness, pulling out from the wisdom to keep in our mind this loving, kindful thought, but we see that it collapses. Then again we refocus and we again try to leave only the loving, kindful thought in the heart. We try our best to only remain ourselves with the skillful thought. But if you do that, as soon as you do that successfully, you make your mind only stay with the skillful thought. Every other distraction drops, and your mind will only stay with this single thought. That is called concentration, samadhi, stillness. Please give me an analogy. For that, I will take the second analogy because the other one is a little bit confusing as we don't have much time. The second analogy says, just as your majesty, whatever king with his four-factored army means elephants, horses, soldiers, and I don't remember all the four, but there are four forces in to the king. They would go down into battle. All the army, oh, here we have elephants, horses, chariots, and foot soldiers would have him as the foremost. Now all the soldiers, elephants, horses, chariots start to follow wherever the king goes. The king can lead. Where should all the force should go? Would have him as the foremost. Now the king is the foremost. Now lean towards king, slope towards king, incline towards king, and would gather around king. It's beautiful. Like whoever there are in the armies, they all keep watching at the king and trying to protect him. And whenever the king commands, they are ready to fight. Now everybody follows the king wherever the king goes. And the king, let's see, in the same way, Your Majesty, whatever wholesome mental state there are, all these have concentration as the foremost. Just as the king has the concentration, every other thoughts, all the skillful thoughts collect into the concentration. Sometimes the concentration has been taught by the Buddha as a land, a sanctuary. So you go to that land when there is the flood around. The land is the safer place. You can do whatever you want in the land. You can think whatever the good thought you need in the land. And that is the concentration. Sometimes concentration taught as the vehicle. Vehicle can take you wherever you want. You get wheels, and those wheels are good wheels, like the skillful things. Like you can think whatever skill. You can think compassion, you can think loving kindness, you can think about confidence, you can think about contentment. They all will be available as soon as you concentrate your mind. Thus, Your Majesty, concentration has been the foremost as distinguishing characteristic. And this too was said, Your Majesty, by the Blessed One. Develop concentration, monks. A concentrated monk knows things as they really are. Here, the things as they really are is the wisdom. Develop concentration means meditate, and the concentration is the peace of mind. And to do all these things, we need a ground, we need the planet, we need the virtue. That's why virtue, concentration, mindfulness, and wisdom are all connected together. And this, the king said, "You are clever, Venerable Nagasena." May our homage to the Bhante Nagasena. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And today we talked about virtue, wisdom, concentration, and mindfulness. I hope this helped my friends. And by the power of this merit, may we have the great opportunity to develop these practices and attain our peace of mind. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Looks no questions, and does this made you difficult to understand?
I was particularly interested in the comment, the statement that mindfulness persists into the future. I
Yeah.
didn't know that at all. And Linda had mentioned that earlier before we started. But I think that's very good to know.
Yeah. The mindfulness develops our power to distinguish, like it brings the clarity, as we learned, and the wisdom is the knowledge that we have. And while the concentration is the peace of mind that we normally talk, and the wisdom is, and also mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, and what was the other one we talked?
I think those are the three, right, Bhante?
Three.
Mindfulness,
Yeah,
concentration,
mindfulness,
and then
concentration,
Wisdom.
the wisdom. Yeah, wisdom. We talked that three, and we also learned that there should be the fourth one, the virtue, in order to develop this. But these things should be, as I said earlier, like things should be developing within. And first we need to understand this, that even though it's very difficult and harder to grasp these techniques, these teachings all of a sudden, but before we develop, we need to understand them. We need to see those things in within. That's how we can start to increase those qualities. Normally, what happens during meditation? Can somebody tell? Let's suppose that there is a meditator doing loving kindness. What is that meditation all about? How a person starts a meditation? During the meditation, what happens?
You start first by saying something for yourself. May I be free from anger, ill will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what is our aim? Why we do that?
To improve.
According to this discussion, what is our goal? By
Concentration.
Exactly, very good. We try to attain the concentration. And how we think all these things when we are being attacked by the angry thoughts or other unnecessary thoughts, what protects you during that meditation?
Mindfulness.
Exactly, very good, very good. Well, you understood that. And then what power brings you loving kindness back of your back of your life, back of your mind, what is leading you? Like there is something in the like the store. What is it?
Wisdom? No.
Say it
Wisdom.
again. I didn't hear that. Yeah.
Virtue.
Wisdom?
Yeah, exactly.
Mindfulness.
Wisdom. There is wisdom back of our us. That is the innate our nature that we carry. That there is it, and we bring that. And do we get any confusion when we're developing loving kindness meditation? Are you doing that thinking anger? Have you ever tried?
No.
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 So then, which means you have wisdom. We all have wisdom, which means we are having wisdom, and that wisdom is providing us necessary thoughts to grow. And that's what happens during a meditation. You bring good thoughts from the wisdom, and you focus it to your mind, and then through the mindfulness you keep tracked on these thoughts, and after that you develop peace of mind. And to do that, should we observe precepts? Yes, there should be precepts to be observed in order to do these teachings. Yeah.
Virtue.
If somebody does not get necessary peace of mind, if they don't attain the concentration, where is the problem? What do you think?
Establishing the mindfulness.
Yeah, having difficulty
Yeah,
with
difficulty.
establishing mindfulness. Yeah,
No foundation.
yeah,
No foundation.
yeah. So yes, my okay, friends, please keep on meditating. Yeah, please meditate every day, every day.
Thank you,
And
Bhante.
thank you so much for joining with me. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. By the power of this merit, may we soon able to attain our peace of mind.
Sadhu. Sadhu.
Sadhu. Sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bhante.
Bhante. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.